Hi, I'm Pete Maldonado, the CEO of Chomps, and I'm excited to welcome you to Chompcast, a Chomps original podcast where we'll have 15 to 30-minute fireside chats focused on the CPG industry.
And I'm Rashid, the COO. Together, we'll be sharing valuable insights, advice, and real-world examples with aspiring and current business owners. We're happy to have you here along for the ride.
Welcome to Chompcast, episode 13, where we interviewed Rob Dalton and Nicole Ledoux, co-founders of 88 Acres. So Rob and Nicole, great to meet you both. We'd love to hear a little bit about yourselves, but also about 88 Acres and how'd you guys start the business?
Thanks for having us. We're thrilled to be here. Happy holidays. Nicole is at our bakery today, so we'll let her kick it off since she's where the magic happens.
Hey guys, my name is Nicole Ledoux. I am one half of the founding team of 88 Acres. I am the half that actually grew up on an 88-acre farm, thus the name. And I am super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I'm Rob Dalton, the other half of 88 Acres, and I grew up on a quarter of an acre, not 88 acres. We launched the business a few years ago after building our own bakery in the inner city of Boston. We create inclusive foods on an ingredient foundation of seeds. So we make bars and butters that we bake ourselves in our own allergen-friendly bakery.
Awesome. Okay, so what drove you guys to start 88 Acres and to start making seed-based snacks?
Peter, in our humble opinion, we have the greatest founding story of any food or beverage company ever. So hopefully you agree, but Rob and I met the old-fashioned way on Match.com, and on our first date, he told me that he was allergic to peanuts and tree nuts, which I stored away as useful, interesting information. But on our fourth date, he almost died at the dinner table when his meal was accidentally cross-contaminated with nuts, and I had to bring him to the emergency room where I met his mom and dad for the first time, my future in-laws. So that was literally the event that kind of like kickstarted this idea for 88 Acres and sent us,
Nicole met my parents for the first time at the ER in Boston. And that was her trial by fire experience to food allergies. The next day we got released from the hospital, and the first thing that she did was kind of rid her house of everything that could kill me, right? And a bit of the light bulb moment was, all of a sudden my food allergy was becoming her dietary restriction as well. So she went to our local grocery store, came back home with a bunch of allergen-friendly solutions. And at the time, there were, much fewer options on shelf than there are today. And I think for all of us within, a lot of founding teams within the consumer space, necessity is kind of the mother of all invention. And so because we couldn't find anything that met our needs for our household, Nicole just started to tinker in our tiny basement apartment. And we started from there. So I think that, we very much consider ourselves accidental entrepreneurs. And it turned out that what we were making at home, it wasn't just us that was falling in love with them, but slowly we started to share our products with friends and family and strangers. And one thing led to another. And over time, we found ourselves sampling, thousands of products in the morning before work within our local workout communities and different food events on the weekends. And without knowing it at the time, we were kind of testing the market. But in the moment, we were just kind of having fun and doing something a little bit different than our normal day job. And at one of those sampling events, we got in front of someone that worked at Whole Foods. He was fortuitously a local forager, and he agreed to set us up with a meeting with the buyer at Whole Foods here in our home region of the North Atlantic region here in New England. And Whole Foods was the first retailer that was willing to give us a shot. And that kind of, was the moment for us that mitigated risk enough to say like, hey, let's try this. Let's see what happens. And so we decided to launch 88 Acres.
Before this, what were you? Do you have Rob and Nicole? Like, do you have a food and background in food and in the retail space and CPG? Just curious, like, what were you doing before this?
I think that our only background in food is the fact that Nicole grew up on a farm and grew on produce and had animals all growing up, and I'm a foodie at heart. It just so happens that I have this food allergy that affects a lot of things that I can and can't eat. But neither one of us came from the consumer space. Nicole was in finance, and I was in tech. So nothing that had to do with consumer or food. Maybe it would have made things a little bit easier if we had background in the industry. But I think being naive is a little bit of a blessing. Not knowing what you don't know is sometimes helpful. And I think it's sometimes helpful in entrepreneurship as well.
No, I think Pete and I can relate to that because we have no background in consumer, nor food, nor retail as well. And I think it is a blessing. I think some of the most successful companies don't have that background, so you don't know what you don't know. So I think some folks just feel like things have to be done a certain way and they continue down that path. And I think that's what limits some folks from like really growing quickly, and making sure you're on the right shelf and making sure your product cogs are set up the right way. So I think it is a blessing.
And I think the food industry has changed so much over the last decade that there is no playbook that worked in the 90s and the early aughts that you can apply now. So it's almost even more of a blessing to be coming in fresh, because if you were part of a successful company in the 90s or the early aughts, you're relearning everything all over again.
I really don't like the word playbook because I feel like even if you've done it before, whatever the brand, the product, the timing, the economic forces, nothing that worked previously is going to work. And I think a lot of times, we're a victim of it too, where we see another brand that we're, a fan of, they do something, we're like, well, if we use that agency or that technology or that person on the team, we would expect similar results. And every single time we're disappointed. So this notion of, we know the playbook, we know how to make it happen. It's like, I haven't seen it. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but like everything is so unique to the current situation that you got to figure out for your own.
Yeah, when you hear the word playbook, that's the trigger point to like run for the hills, right?
What were both of you guys doing before Chomps, and how did you originally meet?
It's funny, like you said that. Well, you said the Match.com thing. One time I remember at a trade show, I made a joke that me and Pete met on one of those dating sites. It was just an absolute joke, but it's like the first time you guys said it in my mind. I remember we were talking to some like strategic, some investor, and I was just in a goofy mood, and he didn't think it was so funny.
Tinder. We met on Tinder.
Yeah, I was doing strategy consulting, so operational focus, value creation, operational due diligence, 100-day plans, that sort of stuff. I serve the mid-market private equity space.
So I was a personal trainer in college, which is really where I started dealing with like nutrition, fitness, and all of that, and started getting different ideas on like what I could bring to market to make my clients' lives easier. So Chomps was actually one of those ideas. This is probably 20 years ago now, but finally brought it to market in 2012. But in between there, I was in real estate and really kind of just entrepreneurial, just jumping around from various entrepreneurial endeavor to the next. And but I really loved food, and so this was always my end game, is like having a food company. So real estate was kind of a means to an end. I was able to close some pretty big deals and make some commissions that allowed me to live off those commissions while we were starting Chomps. And so we allowed us to really bootstrap Chomps too, because we started with both of us invested $3,250, and that was really it. And so we kind of just built it from there, and just kept really reinvesting profits. So have a private equity partner now as of last year, though.
Do you guys miss your previous careers at all, or no?
I mean, I love the firm, the people, the work was engaging, but there's no scenario where I could go back to professional services. No.
Yeah.
After being on this side of it, and even in the CPG community, the natural CPG community itself is so welcoming, and like I love going to Expo West. It's almost like a homecoming where you get to see all your other friends. It's such an amazing community, and we're all doing the same thing, right? We're all trying to do our part to improve the food that everyone eats, right? I think, our mission changed once we had kids, and you really start looking at labels. I mean, Rob, my son has severe nut allergies. I've seen firsthand what happens when you order something that's coconut crusted, but they put out almonds instead, and you have to give the EpiPen. Like it's terrifying. Before I saw it firsthand, I was kind of like, how bad could a nut be? Like I had my drawer with the almonds, and I was like, I kind of didn't take it seriously until I saw it firsthand. And I was like, wow, I mean, it's serious. He was, again, overnight. I mean, and after that, like I took it very seriously. So I think, no, to answer your question, I don't see myself going back. I love what we're doing. And I'm happy to kind of be a lifelong kind of in the consumer space and do our part to improve what folks are eating.
So yeah, I like personal training. That was fun for me, but I think that was it really wasn't a scalable business. I want to be building a big business. Like that was always something that really excited me. And the thing I did love was really when your clients would be so excited about seeing the results, and then knowing that you're basically helping them change their health or change their life. Like that was really impactful for me. But then when I got into real estate, that was really, again, it was just exciting because they were big deals, right? I was doing more commercial real estate, a lot of note sales and that type of stuff. And so we were, the thing I hated about it though, was you're essentially working yourself out of a job. So if you're really good at getting a deal to close, or if it takes a long time, you might be working on deals for months or even years, and then it closes, and the next day you kind of start from scratch. Each one of these deals takes a lot of time. And anyway, so I really hated the fact that I didn't feel like I was building something. I was building a name for myself in the business, but there was no residual income or anything like that. And that was one of the things I always wanted. And so that's where Chomps was like, this is going to be the side hustle. We're going to start this website, and we're going to do this, and this will be my residual income. I can still do my big deals. But Chomps had totally different plans for us. And so it was very, very, very quickly, this thing got bigger faster than we ever thought it would. And I was like, I'm all in. I love this. I'll do this for the rest of my life. So let's go back and let's talk about how you actually started this business, right? So, I mean, you had an idea, you had your, this issue and your food allergy. How did you come up with the products? I have so many questions here, but I just want to understand, how'd you come up with the idea first off, and then how'd you bring it to market? But then what made you want to be vertically integrated and self-manufacture? So I think things are you could just start talking, and I'll have a million questions for you though. So.
Yeah, sure. So Rob and I were much healthier versions of ourselves back then. And we were both training for half Ironmans and triathlons. And Rob and I would go on these 8-hour bike rides, and I would take
This was definitely before kids.
Yeah. Sadly, there's not a lot of triathloning going on nowadays. But so we'd go out on these day-long bike rides, and I'd bring Pro bars or Cliff bars or whatever I needed to sustain myself during the ride. And Rob would have these sad little gel shot blocks, and he was like, I can't eat bars because they all have nuts in them. So I just started screwing around in our really crappy basement apartment kitchen, making him bars that had seeds instead of nuts. And literally he would bring them to workouts. People would steal bites, and then they would try to place their orders with me. And we just got in front of the Boston workout community. We'd be passing out 500 bars before a running workout. And that was literally how we got our start, how we tweaked our first formulations, how we started to get consumer feedback. We were building a business at the time and we didn't even really know it. And then just sort of fortuitously got in front of one of the, foragers for the North Atlantic region of Whole Foods back when Whole Foods had local foragers. And we literally, we had bars in like Ziploc baggies and Tupperware containers. And thinking back to those days in like 2013, 2014, it's shocking because I can't believe that they gave us a shot, but they agreed to launch us regionally before we had ever even like figured out how to make the product.
And so I think when they, we left the meeting after they gave us the green light, and we were like, this is so great. How are we going to make these? We couldn't find any co-packers anywhere in the US that were free of the most common food allergens, that had baking capabilities. We baked our bars, and we wanted to keep that same eating experience. And the one option that we found, the minimum order quantities, was like, it was so high that we just couldn't wrap our head around strapping the business with so much.
It's like hundreds of thousands of MOQs. It was also not in the United States, which was like equally terrifying.
And so I think that, we kind of took a step back and said, look, if we want to launch this, we need to build our own bakery. And so we built an 1,800 square foot bakery in the inner city of Boston. And that's where we had our raw material warehousing, finished product warehousing, office, and our production facility in the 1,800 square feet. That first year or two, we had one pallet. In that first year, we had one pallet where we stored all of our finished product, and basically how we decided whether or not we needed to produce or sell was based on if the master cases were above my waist, and I'm not very tall. If they were above my waist, we needed to sell, and if they were below my waist, we needed to make more product. And that's kind of what we did that first year.
It's a pretty advanced S&OP process.
We, it was, my dad would pick up Nicole from our house at 5 a.m. They would go into the bakery. It would take them all day to make like
800 bars.
Yeah. And we were making everything by hand. We were hand cutting every single bar. And then I would come at night after work alongside like 2 or 3 friends, and we would wrap the bars at night and order takeout. That's how we convinced our friends to help us, and that's how the first year was just very, very gritty when we weren't in the production facility, and on weekends we were just, in Whole Foods or in Roach Brothers at Star Market, demoing and sampling the product and trying to drive velocity off shelf. So it's interesting, right? I'm sure you guys see it as well. Like this, very much the same foundational tactics that that we used that first year. It's the same blocking and tackling that we're largely doing today to really support the brand and in the retailers that we're in.
How are you thinking about your product lines, the flavor recipes? Like where does that ideation come from?
I mean, when we launched the business, we very deliberately knew we never wanted to be just a bar company. We knew that if we built a brand correctly, that we had a real opportunity to build, a platform brand on this foundation of seeds, and that, if we built the brand correctly, that we would have the ability to go into different areas of the grocery store. So the first product line was bars, but we really started to look around. Like a lot of this is just us solving personal problems that we have in our own kitchen. So our next product line was our line of seed butters. And that was really born from a late night conversation between Rob and I, where he was asking me what almond butter tasted like. And I was trying to describe it to him. And I was struggling because he is just like had never had any nut butters before. And he was like, like the notion of eating sunflower seed butter kind of grossed him out because it smelled and looked just like peanut butter, which could kill him. So it was like a personal challenge to, I was like, I bet you I could make you a seed butter that you would like. And I started tinkering around in the kitchen, and pretty soon we had mason jars full of different seed butters. And, and so that's really how that product line was born.
So how did you come up with watermelon? But I saw that as one of your products. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I've never seen that before.
It's kind of the type.
Where do you get the watermelon seeds from?
It's
like
kind
what
of
happens to the watermelon?
It's one of those flavors where like you either really like it or you really don't. But it's we've messed around with like all types of seeds, and it's this really light and airy kind of peppery seed from a eating experience standpoint. Super high in protein, really high in macronutrients, really low water footprint, and it definitely sways a bit more savory compared to like our dark chocolate sunflower seed butter or vanilla cinnamon or pumpkin seed butter. So it's a much more unique SKU for us within the butter line.
And when I was traveling in between finance gigs, and when I was in the Middle East and Asia, I noticed that people were snacking on watermelon seeds. And that was the first time that I had ever had them. So they were grown in India and China. And so that's sort of where the idea came from. I think what's interesting is that people are pretty familiar with sunflower seed butter, but when we launched our pumpkin seed butter, like we were like the first ones to market with that. And for watermelon seed butter, same thing. So I think that the watermelon seeds, like everyone's familiar with the fruit. Everyone's eaten watermelons before, but never the seeds. So it was a little bit of an easier learning curve than some of the like crazy seeds that we've experimented with in the past, where it was just like such a steep educational curve.
What are some examples of the crazier seeds?
I mean, we've tried like every fruit, vegetable, herb, edible flower seeds. So I don't think the world is ready for like nasturtium seed butter or basil seeds. But we've definitely messed around with all of them.
That's really cool innovation, though. That's so you guys are taking off, obviously. What are you guys doing next? Like, what are you making big investments to support this type of scale?
We have scaled the business since we launched in 2015. We're now adding additional manufacturing capacity to really best position the business to, continue to grow for the next 4 to 5 years, and making sure that we have the capacity infrastructure to be able to continue support the demand with our current product lines, new retail and food service partners, as well as new upcoming innovations. So that's a huge focus for us next year in 2013, and something that we're really, really excited about.
What started as 1,800 square feet and run by friends and family has grown pretty considerably. We've like gobbled up every square inch of our current building that we possibly can. We've expanded, the bakery multiple times. We've added additional offsite warehousing, and we still keep running out of capacity. So this next big facility build we'll be going into in Q1 will give us significantly more runway. So, we're super excited to be able to hire more team members, to be able to produce more products and really give the brand the capacity we need to continue to grow at the pace that we're growing at.
But I think
I'm assuming from a labor perspective, this is probably has to be somewhere nearby the existing facility, right nearby somewhere.
It is. I mean, we're super lucky right now. So we're in the inner city of Boston, in Dorchester. We have an incredible team, many of whom have been with us for years. And the decision to move out of our current building was one that, honestly, we kind of agonized over because it's so important for us to keep our team intact. Most of our team lives within like a 10-block radius of the current bakery that we're in. So we've been really creative about how to make sure that we retain our entire team for the move. But we're moving, it's about 25 minutes away, and in a much, much larger building that gives us a lot more space.
So let's chat about you guys personally, Eric. Okay, so Nicole, let's start with you. Brand crush. Who's a brand out there you're watching that's just like they're absolutely killing it? Maybe one that you guys love to emulate, get good ideas from on how to build a business.
So they're not anything like our brand, but I love everything that they do. I'm a big fan of Pit Viper, the sunglass company. And I think just sort of like old school brand crush would definitely be Patagonia.
Got it. Awesome. Both Pit Vipers. I'm looking it up right now. These things are sweet.
Their email list is so funny. So they just do a really great job of like marketing and brand positioning. And it's definitely, we don't have permission to have their brand voice, but I love everything that they do. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Very cool. Rob, what about you?
Within food and bev, I like, and I don't know anyone at either of these brands personally, but really big fan of of Orabora as well as Midday Squares. I think that their branding and copy and voice is just really smart and authentic. And they're doing like a great job. Totally agree with Nicole on, totally agree with Nicole on Pit Viper as well. They are really authentic, and they definitely have a lot of fun with their brand positioning.
Very cool. Yeah, Orabora, those flavor profiles they have are just insane. They're really, really good. I wasn't expecting it, and their packaging is awesome.
Yeah.
I get to order a bunch of stuff to the office here. I'm always trying everything. And then they were sitting in my fridge for a long time. I never really tried it. And then one day I did it. I'm like, man, these things are amazing. Yeah, it's a great brand.
Yeah. There's it's what's really, I don't know, it's what's exciting about this space is that you can just cross-pollinate ideas with so many different brands and look at ways that you can being able to talk with lots of founders. Everyone's like really welcoming and transparent when it comes to just like ideating on brand and brand strategy and growth goals. And so it's being in and I'm sure y'all would feel the same way. And Rashid, you mentioned it with going to Expo West every year, just being able to catch up with lots of founders and lots of brands. It's a really exciting time to be in the natural food space. That's for sure.
It's a great business to be in. We love it. We're having a lot of fun. So let's imagine you guys were not in the business. 88 acres didn't exist. You guys were not doing it. What would you guys be doing? Rob, let's start with you this time.
I think that I would still really love to be like with a mission-driven consumer brand. It wasn't where I was before 88 acres. but whether that's within apparel or better for you snacks, I really love being in the CPG space. And so I think that if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have tried to begin my career a little bit closer to the industry than I did coming out of college.
I think I'd probably be working for one of like the ski or snowboard companies. And then completely unrelated, and I definitely don't have the skill set for this currently, but I wish I did. I would probably be a photographer for National Geographic.
So as we wrap this up, can you tell the listeners where they can check out your product if they're interested either online or on the shelf?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find our products at 88acres.com. We're like most brands also on Amazon. We're nationally distributed across amazing grocery partners like Whole Foods and Sprouts, Walmart, and lots of natural and independent grocers throughout the country. So would love any and all support. We have a bakery team that works really hard to make amazing products every day. And so any product compliments go to them and the hard work that they do.
It was great to meet you both, Rob and Nicole, and appreciate your time today. It was awesome to learn more about your story.
It's great to meet you guys as well. Thanks for the time. And we'll have to get together at Expo West and share a beer and tell some war stories about all of our stupid injuries doing things that we're too old to do now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Rob and Nicole. Appreciate it. Great to meet you both.
Guys. Great to meet you guys as well.
Thank you.
Have a great holiday.